Hi, I'm Annapolis Mayor Josh Cohen with your monthly video update for May 2013. In this update, I'm going to talk almost exclusively about City Dock, and I'm also going to talk briefly about the new alderman from Ward 1. So with City Dock, for more than 2 years, our community's been engaged in a planning process looking at City Dock, arguably our most important asset. There are some critical infrastructure challenges it faces that there's broad agreement we have to address, particularly shoring up the bulkheads, addressing some of the nuisance flooding issues. But there's also a lot of discussion about what we can do, what we should do to make better use of this prime real estate, this prime waterfront real estate for our businesses, for our visitors, and for our residents. And so after more than 2 years of very involved discussion and public review, there's a very exciting development which has come forward dealing with 110 Compromise Street, which our community knows as the old Fawcett building. One of the owners of Fawcett's pointed out to me that Fawcett's itself is alive and well on Bay Ridge Road, so I'm referring to this as 110 Compromise Street. But one of the key recommendations of the City Dock plan had to do with this property, or with that collection of properties. And so, unlike other recommendations of the plan, which this recommendation can only be achieved if there's a willing private property owner. And the reason the City Dock Committee spent so much time on this private property is because it's such a key piece of property for downtown. And so the recommendation of the City Dock Committee is pretty simple but pretty dramatic, which is to combine the existing 110 Compromise Street property, which is an L-shaped parcel. It includes the building as well as parking alongside it and along the waterfront. To combine that parcel with 2 city-owned parking lots on either side. One is the Newman Street lot, as we refer to it. The other is the Donner Street lot, where Fresh Farmers Markets sets up. So to combine those 3 parcels and re-subdivide them with the purpose of establishing a broad 20 or 30 foot wide promenade along the waterfront for the public. And so the property owners, the existing property owners, have signed a contract with prospective purchasers who have looked closely at the City Dock plan. They support it. They want to put in a new building that the community will embrace, that will be architecturally appropriate, that will be a well-designed building from all 4 sides, and will help spur a revitalization and I believe spur significant private reinvestment in some of the buildings downtown that could benefit from it. So there's a tremendously exciting opportunity, and there are some things that have to happen to accomplish this. One is the City Council needs to approve the land transfer, and it's still very preliminary in the discussions. The contract was signed just at the beginning of May. On May 13th, we held a closed session with the City Council and our City Attorney to make sure the Council is not just apprised of what's going on, but that they are engaged from the very beginning to get a sense from the Council what their issues are and what their goals and concerns are. So one of the things that has to happen is this land transfer, where we consolidate the parcels and somehow re-subdivide them, whether it is fee simple subdivision, whether it's putting down an easement, whether it's leasing back some property. We're still working through those details. It's part of an ongoing discussion with the property owners that's still, like I said, in the very formative stages. In addition to the land transfer, the property needs to be rezoned. And so the City Dock plan, one of its recommendations, not just for this property, but for all of the City Dock horseshoe, as I call it, around both sides of Market Slip, is to create a new waterfront City Dock zoning district. And the idea is pretty simple in terms of the uses. It will not add new uses that currently are not permitted downtown, such as convenience stores. But its goal is to establish a mixed-use zone that allows for more vitality, so that it's not just maritime or commercial in parcels, but you can have properties that have a mix of both maritime and retail and office. And so I've introduced phase 1 of the waterfront maritime zone. And so even though I'm getting into a lot of technical detail here, there's a lot going on, and it's important that people who are interested understand all these different trains that are running down these parallel tracks. Key point about the zoning is that it only applies to the Compromise Street side of City Dock. Folks who followed the City Dock planning process know that some of the recommendations have generated a lot of debate. Eliminating the traffic circle and replacing it with the T intersection, significantly increasing the building heights along Dock Street, as well as the big question about what to do or not to do with parking on the other side of Market Slip. Those issues need more discussion. They need more public participation, and we still need to work through a lot of those details. And it's premature to move forward with any zoning for the other side of Market Slip. However, for this side of Market Slip, the 110 Compromise Street set of parcels, I've talked to many people, many key stakeholders in both the residential and business and maritime communities. And there's broad support for the goal of creating this public promenade, of also opening up the viewshed from Main Street down to the water, and just as importantly, if you're approaching from the water or if you're at City Dock looking up Main Street, to eliminate this cinder block wall there that blocks your view of Lower Main. So there's a lot of support in concept for this land consolidation, reorientation of the property. There's a ton of details we have to work out, not just with the zoning. We have to look at floodplain issues and establishing new flood protection elevation, as it's called. The zoning I've put in proposes to increase the maximum height for that new building footprint from 32 feet to 38 feet, which may not seem like a lot, but it's bound to generate some discussion. So there's a lot of details to work out, but the key point, as I see it, is that this is a hugely exciting opportunity for our community to have a private property owner, a set of investors willing to come in, put significant money down to implement a public vision that we as a community have developed for this property. And so even though there's a lot of details to work through, as I've said many times, the difference between this side, the Compromise Street side of Market Slip, and the Dock Street side is that at least there's broad support for the concept. So at least we're all going to be working towards a shared goal, which is why the zoning I've introduced is just for this phase 1. Because if I were to introduce zoning for the whole plan as it was proposed right now, the whole thing would probably just collapse of its own weight. We have an opportunity now with 110 Compromise Street, and I think we need to do what we can to really pursue it to the extent we all agree makes sense, and seize this opportunity for our community. So, a lot going on. I think the City Dock Advisory Committee deserves tremendous credit because it is their plan that laid the framework for this development to move forward. And the City Council also deserves a lot of credit because the property owners who still own the property had tried for more than a year to get it rezoned on a spot rezoning basis. And the City Council, a majority of the council to its credit, said no, let's wait, because it's such a key piece of property to see what the community's vision is. And even though the City Council has not adopted the plan itself has been reviewed by the Planning Commission, the Historic Preservation Commission, and like I said, after 2 years of discussion, there's broad support for this concept. In terms of next steps, the development team will be submitting specific renderings, proposed site plans. The zoning ordinance itself is going to be reviewed by the Planning Commission, the Historic Preservation Commission, as well as several city committees, city council committees. Any land transfer can only be approved by an ordinance, so that ordinance itself will be introduced, there'll be public hearings, it'll be voted upon. So there's going to be a lot of discussion, but a lot of opportunity for public review, public participation and input. But we are under an aggressive time frame because one of the terms of the sale was to have a 5-month contingency clause where if the zoning did not occur and the land transfer did not occur, the deal goes away. And the thinking is from the purchaser standpoint, they're not going to waste an inordinate amount of time and money pursuing something that the city says it wants if the city really doesn't want it to happen. And from the seller's standpoint, it's not fair to them to keep the property off the market for too long, you know, if there's nothing, no outcome at the end of the day. So it's exciting, and I'm optimistic that despite all the details that have to happen in a relatively short amount of time, I think we can get it done. So that's a brief update on major development with the City Dock area and 110 Compromise Street. Related to that is that on Monday, May 13th, I had the honor of swearing in the new alderman for Ward 1, Joe Budge. As many watching this will know, the previous alderman, Dick Israel, had to resign due to health conditions related to Parkinson's. According to the city code, because he resigned less than 15 months before the end of the term, the Central Committee of his party, the Democratic Central Committee, posted an opening, interviewed 3 applicants, and selected Joe Budge to fill the role. Joe is well known among followers of what's going on locally. He served up until he had to step down as president of the Ward 1 Residents Association. When you think about some of the major issues that downtown has faced, whether it's liquor licenses, parking, city dock, you name it, Joe has been involved, not just, you know, complaining or griping, but trying to participate and offer solutions. He served on the Hillman Garage Advisory Committee, on the City Dock Advisory Committee, on the Citizens Committee to review alcoholic beverage laws, and I and others have been struck by his thoughtful, data-driven approach to finding solutions, as well as his, he's just a personable guy, which will serve him well. So I'm pleased to welcome him on the council, along with all of our colleagues, for the remainder of this term. So that is the update for May. A lot going on with City Dock zoning, as well as an exciting proposal for 110 Compromise Street. And the council has a new alderman who can serve a key role in addressing both of those issues. As always, you can reach me in the mayor's office at 410-263-7997. You can email me at mayor@annapolis.gov, and you can visit my blog, mayorcohen.com, and leave a comment. Thank you for watching.